Welcome to our literature world. This is the prescribed subject for Alagappa University, Introduction to Literature. This subject is motto of learning literature is very well easy. This is the subject to provoke the student knowledge about literature through literary terms. Poetry, prose, novel, drama, short stories. They can enjoy stories through this syllabus. They can know about patriotism, imagination, flights of poetic thoughts, and romantic writers, graveyard writers, modern writers. They know all things about through this subject. They can enjoy learning literature is our part of life. Through this subject, they can learn so many things about literature. This is the subject to enjoy literature as well.
Hello everyone, we are going to see the basic details of English literature. Elegy. It is a poem of lament mourning the death of a person or the end of an era or way of life. It is not limited by form. The poet has the freedom to write in any form that he chooses. The tone adopted by the poet is dignified and solemn. The elegy is suitable for serious reflection on heavy topics, just as life and death. Some poets use this form to degrees and expresses their views on that subject and Lycidas. 1638, for example, Milton degrees to talk about the degradation of poetry and religion. Although the elegy is a poem of grief, it changes by the end to one of resignation, peace, or even joy as the poet comes to terms with his losses. Sonnet. A sonnet is a poem of 14th impact pentameter lines arranged in a specific rhyme scheme. The sonnet form originated in Italy in the 13th century. The word is derived from the Italian sonetto meaning a little sound. The sonnet has been an extremely popular form throughout English literary history even to the modern day. The Italian poet Petrarch 1304 to 74 wrote several sonnets in which he expressed his love for an idolized lady Lyra. Petrarch's poems were just a major influence on European literature that the classical form of the sonnet is known as the Petrarchan sonnet. Lyric. The lyric is a short non-narrative poem which is a brief expression of mood or feelings. The term originally referred to Greek poetry composed to be sung to the accompaniment of the lyric of harp. The lyric was sung by a single person, unlike the choric song that was by a group of singers. In modern usage, a song is still often called a lyric, but in literature, epic. An epic is a long narrative poem on the exploits of Greek heroes, told in a grand and elevated style. Traditional or primary epics contain myth, legend, folk tales, and history, and are thus part of a nation culture history. Thank you.
Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about The Meadow Mouse written by Theodore Rothke. Theodore Hübner Rothke was an American poet. He is regarded as one of the most accomplished and influential poets of his generation, having won the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry in 1954 for his book The Waking and the annual National Book Award for Poetry on two occasions. First, in 1959 for Votes for the Wind, and the second in 1965 for The Far Field. Theodore Rothke's The Meadow Mouse is a wake-up call about the way nature works. The poem starts small and ends with the whole damn machinery. Now let's get into the poem. In The Meadow Mouse, Theodore Rothke expresses his feeling about the little meadow mouse he had picked up and how he cared for it as if it was his child. In the first stanza, the poet finds the meadow mouse where he trembled and shook with fear. Rothke described the way the mouse acted towards him when he found him for the first time. In this stanza, Rothke used a lot of words like baby, cradle, little, and puppy to project the image to the readers. These are dictions to depict a young and small, even a vulnerable object, for example, a baby. In this stanza, the poet brought the baby Meadow Mouse and brought him in, cradled in my hand, shows the love and affection he has for it. Cradlet means carry with great care and gentleness. This shows the reader that he treats the mouse with care and love. Rothke put the mouse in a shoe box stuffed in an old nylon stocking with such love that he is almost pampering it. When the mouse is full, it lays it one corner, his bat-like ears twitching, tilting toward the least sound, shows that the character pays undistracted attention on this mouse because he notices even the finest twitch of the mouse ears. He observes every movement of the meadow mouse, and this again shows the motherly love the person felt towards this mouse that he found in the meadow. The poet asked himself whether the mouse is still trembling, but he is not sure. He wanted to give the mouse a feeling of safety and protection. The poet stating that the mouse does not tremble anymore in a positive tone. The character assumes that the mouse had settled in and is no longer afraid of him and had perhaps even developed a better relationship with him. In the fourth stanza, the poet finds that the shoebox which contained the mouse is empty. He wonders what had happened to it. Had it gone to live by courtesy of a snake, run under the eye of the owl, or ran under the wing of the hawk? All these are enemies of a mouse and can be fatal predators to a mouse, especially one as young as the one Rothke picked up. The poet fears for the mouse, and this feeling is passed to the reader, fearing for the little mouse faith and life. The last stanza is all the possibilities Rothke thinks has happened to his mouse. Nestling fallen in the deep grass, turtle gasping in the dusty rubble of the highway, are all horrifying images of helpless animals whose lives are at stake. At this point, Rothke is referring to his lost baby mouse, who is out there somewhere on his own, unprotected by Rothke, who had tried everything to put the mouse under his wings of protection and shelter. Thank you.
Hello friends, we are going to see the story of The Rising of the Moon by Lady Gregory. Lady Gregory was an Irish dramatist, folklorist and a theatre manager. She was born in 15th March 1852 to 23 May 1932. She is also a co-founder of Abbey Theatre. The play The Rising of the Moon is about an Irish nationalist leader's struggle to elude British authorities. He disguises himself as a poor ballad singer and strikes up a decision with Sergeant, who is on lookout for him, in order to claim a prize of £100. Throughout the chat, the leader reminds the sergeant of his Irish ancestor and the importance of encouraging and supporting the battle for freedom. The sergeant is divided between the two allegiances, one to his work and one to his country. The sergeant makes his decision as he allows the leader to flee. The play delves into the struggle between personal and professional identities. It also highlights the trials and problems that a common Irishman suffered under British colonial control. Through songs, myth, stories, and dramas in the Irish language, the play also examines the issue of the national Irish movement for freedom from British rule and the necessity to strengthen Irish identity. The play features two main characters who represent opposing philosophies. The sergeant is a British representation on the island. The rugged guy is a disguised Irish rebel who supports the nationalist cause. The play's tension is embedded in two characters. The surgeon signifies the colonial rules, authorities, and strength. It is shown through his tunic and headgear. He is nevertheless of Irish descent and thus sympathetic to a cause. Because of his interaction with the wanted criminal, his character undergoes a shift in the play. He is an exceptional man that he does not act like a cog in the government machinery, but rather as a thinking man. He has a good imagination and can therefore predict where the criminal will most likely escape. The surgeon has a grading appreciation for the convict's exploits. His relationship with the criminal reminds him of his past, which he spent singing old favorites with his buddies. The part when he plays out his dilemma is one of the most striking passages in the play. Surgeons that acquire thought now and a true thought. Wait, how till I think it out? If it was not for the sense I have, and for the family and wife, and for me joining the force the time I did, it might be myself now would be after.
Hello everyone. Today we are going to see about The Open Window written by Saki. Hector Hugh Munro, better known by the pen name Saki and also frequently as H. H. Munro, was a British writer known mostly for his short stories. Here, the writer set the story in a rural area. The story revolves around an open window. Although it is an object, the girl weaved a narrative around it. Now let's see the characters of the short story The Open Window. Mr. Frampton Nuttall, he is nervous and confident type. Mrs. Sappleton, she is polite and self-absorbed. Mr. Sappleton, he is a member of hunting party. Vera, she was the niece of Mr. Sappleton. She was a young girl of 15. She was fun-loving and mischievous. Now let's get into the story. In the story, Frampton Nuttall, who is suffering from nervousness, goes to a calm and quiet place for his treatment. He calls on a family friend there. He meets a 15 years old girl, Vera. She is a very calm and confident girl. She tells Frampton that her aunt, Mrs. Sappleton, will soon come downstairs. He had with him the letters of introduction given to him by his sister. His sister told him that in the countryside he will meet only few His sister told him that in the countryside he will meet only a few people. If he feels unhappy there, his condition may deteriorate. Vera asked him whether he knows many people there. He replied to her that he did not know anybody here. His sister, who visited the place 4 years back, gave him letters of introduction to some of the people. He said that he only knew her aunt's name and address. Vera told him that about 3 years ago, her aunt's husband and 2 brothers have gone out for shooting. She pointed to a large window Oh my god. She pointed to a large window that opened in the lawn. She told him that they had all gone out from the window and never returned. The wet, spongy ground swallowed them, and also their bodies were never recovered. She further said that Mrs. Sappleton always keeps this window open until it is dark in the hope that they would come back someday. Sometimes Vera also feels that someday they will come through that window along with their dog as they did before. In the meantime, Mrs. Sappleton came and apologized for being late. She said that her husband and brothers had gone for shooting birds. She told Nuttall that she has kept the window open for them to enter into the house so that they do not spoil the carpet with their muddy shoes. Nuttall tried to change the topic, but she continued talking about shooting and shortage of birds. He realized their eyes were directed to the window and lawn and was paying only a little attention to him. Suddenly, she looked towards the window and cried that they were on time for tea. Frampton shivered with fear and turned towards Vera to express sympathy, but she was looking through the window with horror in her eyes. He swung in his chair and looked towards the window. He saw three figures carrying guns walked across the lawn towards the window. A brown colored dog was with them. Nuttall hastily came out from there. The man came in through the window and asked Mrs. Appleton, who rushed out of the house. She said that he was Nuttall, who talked only about his illness. He ran as if he saw some ghosts. However, Vera said that he was afraid of dogs, as once a group of dogs chased him into a graveyard. He spent a night in a newly dug grave.
Hello everyone, today we are going to see the topic about Dill Pickle, written by Catherine Mansfield. About the author, Catherine Mansfield, born in 14th October 1888 to 9th January 1923. She was born in New Zealand. She knows 25 languages. Her famous work was Bliss and Other Stories, that was published in 1917. These works are made her famous in German prison 1911, Bliss 1920, The Garden Party 1922. She died in 1923 at the age of 34. The theme of the story is lost love and self-centeredness. Let's get into the story. The narrator is a lady named Vera. She is a protagonist. They both came to a restaurant coincidentally. He forgets her face and can't resemble that. They sat on a table and they ordered coffee and some snacks. They saw a daffodil flower placed in the table. He mentions that his lover's speech was lovely once. At her points, he always flew away the bees and didn't listen to her speech. They planned to go to some places together when they have loved each other. They planned to go to Spain, Siberia, Russia, Egypt, China, but they could not go there because they got separated. So that he planned to go every places where they were planned. He wants to enjoy the life without her. He goes to Spain, Siberia, Russia, Egypt, but was not able to go to China because it was in war. She used to play piano. She loved to play piano, but due to poverty, she sold it. They recall everything that happened while they love each other. The man exudes arrogance and has a way with words. The difference between the two characters highlight the divergence of their love and the lack of certain personality traits of each character. This unveils one of many reasons why their relationship would come to an end, breaking both of their hearts. This is the story of Dill Pickle. Conclusion. However life goes, it may sweet at first, but always shows its personality.